All right, what's up, guys? We are in part 3 and the final video of this series with my student Evie, going over her first deal and lessons learned. Lots of good stuff. Hopefully you've watched the first 2 videos, part 1 and part 2 of this series, and gotten all the takeaways from there. We're going to go into part 3 and go over the final lessons, and lots of great stuff. If you haven't watched part 1 and 2, I recommend you do that. But just so you know, this is Evie. She's a student in my course. She made over $10,000 on her first deal. And an incredible story. She's a mom of 2 kids, works full-time, military spouse, has a little farm, has just a lot of going on. And just a lot of reasons why this shouldn't have worked, but she made it happen. So lots of great lessons. Let's jump into the final part.
Also love one other thing too, we're in August now. You got the course in November of last year, so we're coming up on a year soon. There's something to be said about your focus and that you stayed focused. I mean, even though you didn't really start calling until April, like that's totally fine. But I think one thing that people fall into the trap of is they start something and then they see something else, the shiny object syndrome. And I did this.
Object syndrome.
This is, I would actually, had I not fallen into that, I would be farther ahead today than where I am now. Because first couple of years, I tried several things. And what I was doing is I was just restarting. Every time I started something new, I was starting from scratch. And so, I just want to commend you for maintaining focus on just, working the process for a long enough time, because had you not done that, you wouldn't have gotten the results you got. So
and I was bad about the fact that shortly like December, January, I kind of got sucked into, oh my gosh, I need to collect everything and I need to learn more before I want to do anything. And I was terrified. It's funny, I spend my days on the phone, so talking to a stranger on the phone doesn't really bother me, but it was more just like, oh my gosh, what if I say the wrong thing, kind of, And so I had tons and tons of information, and I watched all your videos, and I watched through the course a couple times, and I would tell myself, oh, well, I need to do this. Then I'd come up with an excuse. So I'm busy with the kids or whatever, and so I knew that it was what I wanted to do. I gave myself excuses, and finally I was just like, I just need to start making phone calls. And so I did. And I'll be, blatantly honest. I'm bad that when I got the first yes, I kind of was like, oh, I can slack off for a bit. And I know that, had I not done that, I would be further ahead than I am today. But, I'm happy with where I'm moving, especially with, kids and full-time job and all of that as well. But you're right. It's that consistency, and I've finally gotten to where, my husband leaves for work before I do, and so I get up early before the kids do, so that I can do an hour or so of work in the morning, before they get up, and then I'll try, squeeze in a couple phone calls in the afternoons or whatever. But it's that consistency, and I know that the process works, and I can see that the process works. There's plenty of proof for that. It's just keeping going as far as that's concerned. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, it's okay. We all fall into that trap where we get that first yes and we let off the pedal a little bit, and that happens. But as long as you're aware of that, you need to keep the foot on the pedal.
Yeah.
But it's just a lesson learned. So I'm glad you brought that up as well, because I've done the same thing. We all do the same thing. And now I've gone to the extreme where it's like, when I do accomplish something, I don't even celebrate.
You want to double down.
And that's too far. That's too far extreme, because now I'm just like, I don't take time to enjoy, the fruit of my labor. So it's like, now I'm trying to work back to somewhere in the middle where it's like, keep your foot on the pedal, but also do take time to celebrate your wins. I think that's very important as well. And that's one of my weaknesses that I need to be better at, is take time to celebrate, take time with the family, So.
Yeah, definitely. So go out to dinner or something, do something nice.
Exactly. Even if it's something small, like, go out to dinner. Definitely reward yourself for the work that you do and the things that you accomplish. But then don't stop doing the work.
I know. And that's, like I said, I've got 4 that I'm, I've talked to a couple people and, we're getting there. So we've definitely got more coming into the pipeline. And so that'll be, that'll be exciting to kind of start getting some consistency and, start loading that pipeline so that we can start seeing, more results. And I told my husband, I was like, if I can get to where, this time next year, I don't have to work a full-time job, that would be awesome. That would be amazing to not have to worry about that and, be able to spend more time with my kids and do more with them and all of that. So.
Absolutely. Man, that's so cool. I'm so stoked for you and so happy that you got that first deal. It was a big one too, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing too that you got paid out so quickly. I think that is the fastest I've ever heard of someone getting paid out. It's 5 weeks.
Yeah. Cause we filed, I'm trying to think, she signed paperwork at the end of June, like June 25th or so, somewhere around there. And then I think we got paid out July 30th, or maybe it was the first week in August. So, I mean, it literally was like 5 or 6 weeks max.
Wow.
It was really quick. So,
yeah, I've never
and I don't know if that's normal in Kentucky or not. I don't know I guess we'll have to do a couple more deals and figure out if that's kind of a normal timeline, or if that's just kind of a fluke for this specific one. But yeah, it moved. I was surprised when I called the attorney back and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's like the date's been set for the motion," and I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, it's next week." I was like, "Okay."
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And that's the thing too, is like, I tell everyone this too, and people always ask me, well, what's the best state to work? And it's like, I honestly don't know, because every state has their challenges. Like, it sounds like Kentucky, you better be willing to get down and dirty and go down to the courthouse, or you're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
That is obviously a con for working in Kentucky, is access to data. But
and it makes it hard if you're out of state, which I guess is a benefit to me because it means I can hopefully have a little. So
absolutely. And that's one thing too that's good. Something may appear to be a con, but you can turn it into a pro for you.
Less competition, hopefully.
Yeah. Yep. So if you can, I always tell people, just start somewhere, pick a place and figure it out, because if you are someone that can figure out the obstacles, how to overcome them, then you're this much above everyone else. But then again, it's one of the great things it sounds like in Kentucky is you get paid really quick. So, there's
I'll have to update you and know if that's consistent or not.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely let me know. I'd be interested to know. I don't think I have any more questions. How did things go with the attorney that you worked out? Did you pay them like an hourly? Did you pay them a flat rate? How did that go for you?
I did. So he was the attorney that I reached out to kind of before because I took your documents and I wanted to have them reviewed by an attorney just to make sure that they would be, good here in Kentucky. And so I took them to him, and he was the one who he just tweaked a few things for me on some of them. But really, for the most part, they were exactly the same. So I told him what I was doing, and he was like, well, I have no idea, but I'll have to do some research. And, if you get a deal, or if you have a client, just let me know. So when I had talked to her and had a yes, I was like, okay, I think I have one, what are you going to be comfortable with? And he's like, well, I've never done this before, so let's just do this on an hourly rate. And, he's like, if for some reason it's becoming ridiculous one way or the other, then we can reassess something. So yeah, I just, I was fortunate enough that I had some money so I could put down a retainer. And so I just put down a retainer with him, and, he just charged me about the hour, and really, it ended up being 100 times cheaper by the hour with him. But I'm assuming, I don't know what a typical attorney might charge, if you go percentage or anything like that, but, especially where I went with a smaller, where I was on the smaller end of the percentage for myself, if he had taken a cut of that, I feel like it would have ended up costing me a whole lot more, than the way we went. And I don't know specifically what he had to do. I guess we didn't really go into that, but he didn't charge me for a ton of hours. So it was pretty cheap, I guess, when you look at it that way. So
Yeah. Would you say your costs were less than $1,000 with him?
Yeah.
Yep. I have found hourly is actually the cheapest, versus contingency or anything like that. And, if you have a few extra $100 you can spare, that's definitely the way to go, I think. Yeah. But even too, some like I've had some attorneys, they charge me hourly, but they invoice me after they've done the work. And so what has happened a few times is they'll do the work, they'll send me an invoice, and with maybe before the invoice is due, the claim gets paid out. And so
they realize
I'm not out anything up front. Yeah. That's not always the case,
and that's great.
But
yeah. Yeah, and I know on one of your groups, that's been a discussion a couple times is, what's the best way to get it done. And, I completely understand that if you don't have the money up front, to maybe do a percentage agreement with an attorney, but, I would definitely recommend to people, if you can afford it, do the hourly. And then even if you can't, maybe try and renegotiate when, when you do have some money to be able to do it that way. Because, from what I've seen and just, thinking about the percentages, even if I had paid him a percentage, a whole lot more money than what I paid him. So, yeah.
Absolutely. That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And even then, if like, say you had to say you took a percentage on this one, but then you would have some money for the hourly on the next one. So
heck yeah.
There's always ways to overcome that issue. So
yes.
Very cool.
Yes, I agree.
Well, awesome. Any other last bits of advice that you would give to like someone either just starting in the business or looking to get started in the business?
I think we've kind of covered it. Just kind of to reiterate is just, you've got to keep going, and you got to keep working at it. And I think it's ever evolving and ever a learning process, especially if you end up doing multiple states and things like that. But, from one case to another, it could be completely different in the process that you have to go through. And, even I think here in Kentucky, even, from one county to another county, the counties might be different, as to how you process them and what you have to do. So, don't be discouraged and just, keep trying. You'll get those yeses eventually. And it definitely makes the difference, makes it worthwhile.
Yeah. It's definitely, I agree everything with what you said, and just know that it's going to take time. You started your journey back in November. We're now in August of the next year. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't overnight. It wasn't fast by any means, but you just kept with it. And, hopefully,
even if it's like me, just an hour or two a week, I mean, you'll get there.
So hopefully it was a good investment on the education.
Oh, very much so. I like I said, I've tried it all. I've done MLM, and a few years ago, I wouldn't necessarily say it was a mistake because I learned a lot, but I dropped a lot. Let's just say a lot of money. I mean, more money than I made on this overage on a course that I got nothing from. you know, I mean, I learned a lot of information from it, but I didn't, and it, you know, it wasn't the course's fault specifically, you know, it was a lot to do with me and, you know, the time of my life, and I didn't follow up, and I didn't do the things that I've been doing with this one. And I guess it was just kind of a combination of time, and it wasn't something I found interesting or anything like that. But I dropped a lot of money on a course that I still have access to, and you know, it's still good information, but I did not make my money back by any means. And this course obviously tenfold have made my money back in, you know, less than a year. And it really didn't take, you know, overall, if I'm looking just specifically at this one case, it didn't take that much time. You know, and if I had, you know, if I had done this back in, or focused more time on it back in, you know, December, January, then, you know, like you said, I'd be way ahead of where I am now. But I'm still happy with where I am. But, you know, it's consistency. And if you can just do it, then you know, the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. And, you know, if it's just a few hours a week or a month or whatever, then that's fine. Just be understanding that it's going to take longer to get there, and you can't, you know, and so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can hear the dog in the background.
Oh, you're good. I've got a dog too.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to stop it there, guys. There's a little bit more, but we covered the basics of it. So that's part 3. That wraps up this series, and some really great stuff, some really great lessons, you know. So proud and happy for Evie and her getting her deal. And I would love for you to be, you know, the next case study, and to hear your story, and to hear the people that you're going to help, and how this business has made a positive impact on you and your family. I love doing these. They motivate me, they inspire me, and they're just really exciting to see, you know, people get results. So a couple of key things, you know, she talked about focus, you know, sticking with the process. I always let people know, you know, if you don't plan on at least implementing this for a good 6 to 12 months, then you probably shouldn't get started. It takes time to ramp up in this business. It takes time. If you're a really quick learner, you don't need that much, but for you to see results, you need to give it time, and you need to focus in on it. If you're doing a bunch of other things at the same time, then you're just making a little bit of progress in each one. Whereas if you focus on one singular thing, you can make a lot of progress in a short period of time. And 6 to 12 months is really not that long anyway. So she talked about, you know, doing the work in the wee hours, you know, making sacrifice, working up early, super key. And just being consistently doing those activities that are going to bring results, which is making contact with potential clients. That's the big thing, the big key action and money-making activity in this business. That's pretty much it. As far as where to start, just start, guys. Just start somewhere. Again, no state is better than the other. Every state has its benefits and its cons. There are pros and cons to each state, and so you just have to start with one and work the process and figure out how it works in that particular state and county. She talked about attorneys, really cool. You know, you mentioned that hourly is usually the cheapest way to go. I have found that as well, where if you're giving up a percentage, that's cool. It's fine because you don't have to come out of pocket, but you're usually giving up more money doing that. And so if you can go hourly, that's usually the best, or negotiate a flat rate. Best case scenario, negotiate a flat rate on contingency, meaning it's a flat rate and they take it out of the recovered funds. And then she had less than $1,000 in expenses. So, you know, her profit was 11. Let's say it was 1,000. She still netted over $10,000 on this deal. Pretty awesome for her first time. I hope these are beneficial for you guys. Let me know if you like these. I'll do more of them. I love doing these. I'd love to interview you in the future. And if you want to get started in this business, then you can check out the link below to my course, and you can get going, shorten your learning curve, and be able to see results faster. That's what the purpose of the whole course is. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.